Now in the next step, we would want to basically go ahead and face this down, right? So you have this thickness of material that's being left above it, right? So you
Right.
want to face it down. So we could do an operation called facing under two axis,
Okay.
and you can pick either a sketch or you can pick a bunch of face edges. You already have a sketch in Geomagic or Libre that you created. I'm just going to use that as my part region for facing.
Ah, okay.
Specify a tool in here. So if I want to use a face mill cutter, I can add a face mill tool in here. I can specify it could be like, for example, 25 millimeter, like a 1-inch cutter. I can
Okay.
specify the shoulder diameter in here. I can specify the properties for the flute length. I could say it's going to be 20 millimeters,
Okay.
25, 30 millimeters, like a face mill cutter right there. I can specify all the properties in here for the tool, and I can define my tool number, establish feet and speeds. We have a built-in feet and speeds calculator based on the material you're going to be cutting in here. You can
Okay.
specify the material, and also you can customize this list to add additional material types. So if this is going to be
Okay.
6061, you can specify the tool diameter, number of flutes, and you can set the spindle RPM, and the system will be able to give you recommendations on the feet and speeds. You can use this as
Okay.
a reference, or you can come up with your own feet and speeds. So we now have the tool saved. I can now have this tool added to my library. The next
Now,
step, sorry, go ahead.
if you did have calculated, feeds and speeds for a particular material that we've found works best for a particular cutter or something, how would you save those, or is there a place where you can do that?
Yeah, so you basically enter them in with the tool parameters
Okay.
and the feeds and speeds tab. You save the tool, and then you
Ah,
can go ahead and save all of your tools to a library here by clicking on Save Tool Library. So you can have a tool library based on the material type, or if you may have a tool library based on a machine tool that you're working with.
okay. Perfect.
And now we go back in here, and you can notice that the feeds and speeds are loaded from the tool. You can set your clearance. It's set to automatic, or you could say you want to go stock max plus just probably like 5 millimeters or 4 millimeters. So it's
Okay.
going to clear the safe height of the stock. You specify the tolerances for roughing. You can choose a cutting pattern. You can specify the cut direction, step over, cut
Okay.
levels. Now, the geometry, what you're selecting here, is at the finished face of the part, which means you don't want to cut below this to face it. So I'm going to say
Okay.
it's at bottom.
Okay.
And then the thickness, we know it's 9.525 minus 5 millimeters, like it's 4.525.
Okay.
And you can break this up into one or multiple passes depending on how much you want to take per cut.
Okay. Got it.
Entry and exit, you can specify to have it go past in here. You can extend it.
Okay.
You can specify the same settings for exit as well.
Okay.
And all of this information I'm entering in here can be saved into a knowledge base. So when you have parts similar to these, you could just go back and add them, load them from a knowledge base. I can also apply entry and exit for each of those cutting levels. So there's 2 levels, so we are applying entry and exit for each of those levels. So there's your facing toolpath.
Okay. So if you did want to change where the tool starts,
Currently it's starting over here and then cutting, as you notice it here, since we're doing a linear cut pattern.
okay.
So I can change the cut pattern in here. I can go from angle of cut 0 to, if I put in 90, you'll notice that it starts
Oh, okay.
parallel to the y-axis. You can pretty much pick, this is called like a lace cut or a linear cut pattern. Also, we
Okay.
can now perform a simulation in here, and I'm going to go into the Simulate tab, and we
Okay.
have a simulation window. You just click on it. You basically select the operation and then pick play, and it shows your verification, material removal simulation.
Okay. And what size tool did you pick for this, by the way?
I just picked a 25 millimeter. It's kind of a 1-inch diameter cutter.
Would you mind changing that to a 1/4 inch or a 6.35?
Yeah, I can just go ahead and drag and drop this over here. Right click, regenerate. The toolpath is now generated, and that's
Fantastic. Okay. Because our little Max NC can only handle 1/4 inch tools, and we don't have any
okay.
that step out, so that's typically what we. That's
Yeah,
great.
so it's pretty easy to update tools, and now you have the toolpath generated, simulated in here.